Talk about the economics of sportswear now. Stuart Henwood runs Middle East, Africa and India for New Balance. He's in the studio. Morning, Stuart.
Morning, thank you for having me.
And we wanted to talk to you because you're bucking a bit of a downtrend in the industry. Nike, the industry behemoth, revenues falling last year. But for New Balance, revenue up 33% last year to nearly $8 billion. By my maths, that means you're nearly the world's number 3 sportswear brand, knocking on the door of Puma. How are you bucking this trend?
Well, I think that's a great question, predominantly through innovation for how we're producing our product, through craftsmanship, how we're engaging with consumers. I think, as you alluded to earlier, we're a privately held company, and I think that is really at the heart of our ability to be quick and nimble in the market. And I think that we're on a path that we haven't stopped yet, and we're going to continue to move forward.
Well, you talk about things like innovation and engaging with customers. Nike would say the same. Nike's got a massive R&D department. It's not as if they've stopped innovating, and yet their revenues are shrinking. And not just you, New Balance is doing really well, but these niche sneaker brands like Hoka, like On, are doing really well at the moment. Broader, what's going on in the industry?
Well, I think you're seeing a huge trend since COVID in terms of the enhancement of movement. No better place to see that than here in the region. And I think it's the authentic position that you take in the market through running communities, which New Balance has really founded in a strong way over the last few years. We've got running franchises and communities here across Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, Riyadh. I think it's driving that authentic positioning, staying the course. And I think that's really driving results.
Well, one of the things that's propelled New Balance into the higher echelons of global sportswear brands is that you've become cool. But that was not always the case. I was reading Time magazine, and they did an interview with your boss, the CEO, just a couple of months ago. And they opened with this. For a long time, New Balance sneakers had the image of the dad shoe that fashion-forward people didn't want to be seen in. But now, Hailey Bieber's wearing them, Emily Ratajkowski's wearing them, our producer Isa's wearing them. You've been with New Balance for a long time. How and when did it become cool?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been with New Balance 15 years, and as you rightly said in the clip you played earlier, it hasn't always been that way. I think, in many ways, part of that history is that New Balance was is one of the only brands still to make shoes in multiple widths. So it was known as the dad shoe, but we've now partnered with some of the greatest designers that we have, globally, through Laura Piana, which was a shoe that we brought out recently. Huge demand for that. Through Garni, Miu Miu. I think it's taking that authentic position, heroing your heritage, but moving it forward in an innovative way. And I think we've seen that become super cool recently.
You mentioned the clip there. I've got to play it again. A lot of people have written in about this. This is a movie from about 15 years ago, Crazy Stupid Love, Ryan Gosling and Steve Carell. And this is when New Balance were the butt of jokes 15 years ago. The dad shoe, the Steve Jobs shoe. This is a scene in a shopping mall when Ryan Gosling says Steve Carell's New Balance shoe is so uncool, he takes it off his foot and throws it over the balcony.
I'm asking you a question. You in a fraternity?
No.
Are you Steve Jobs?
What?
Hold on a second. Are you the billionaire owner of Apple Computers?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, you got no right to wear New Balance sneakers ever.
And with that, Ryan Gosling slaps him. But you can't say cool forever. Cool is an intangible thing, isn't it? R&D and quality you can control. Cool, hard to control.
Yeah, it's very cyclical. I think you've got to continue to be moving forward. I think the lifestyle piece of our business is extremely strong. It's dynamic, but also it's underpinned by our authenticity in running. And I think if you look at some of the ways that we've been showing up through London, New York Marathon, recently in Doha, which was a pinnacle event for us in this region, I think it's multifaceted. Lifestyle is a great cool piece of it, but it's not the only piece.
Not the only piece. I think New Balance, I think shoes. That goes hand in hand. And yet, as I look at you as well, it's more than shoes, isn't it?
It is. I mean, we're a premium athletic brand. I think, apparel is a huge focus for us. Obviously, I'm wearing the Australian Open kit that we're a proud technical partner of that key event. So, showing up head to toe is a massive part of what we're doing. And you can see that through some of our collaborations and partnerships in the region with the likes of Al Sadd Football Club, one of the leading AFC clubs. And also through some of our partnerships with our ambassadors here, our local ambassadors here through Lulwa, Amy Rocco, etc.
Is apparel challenging shoes for revenue, or are they still miles apart?
In terms of the split of business, it's still quite a gap, but it's becoming much more of a focus for us as a business and how we source, how we get that product to people.
Let's talk about tariffs. You're proud of the fact that you still make shoes in the United States. Most American shoemakers don't, but you do. which is great on one level, but what about tariffs? What about Donald Trump? What about retaliatory tariffs? 65% of your business is outside America.
Yeah, I think the great thing about New Balance, and I'll talk about the piece about being privately held, is that we don't report to Wall Street in terms of reporting figures. The decisions are made by the leadership, and so we have a strategy of staying the course. We've stayed the course of domestic manufacturing both in the US and in the UK. In Flimby, we have a factory. We've had those factories for over 40 years. And I think that is, our authentic position, and we will be staying that course, regardless of tariff implications.
But that's, which is great, but Trump's just announced a couple of hours ago 25% tariffs on Canada from tomorrow. Let's assume that they retaliate. Suddenly, when you're exporting your trainers to Canada, what kind of conversations have you had about the ripple effects of this?
Look, I think it's all about diversifying the opportunity to source. So as I said, we will continue to be manufacturing product in the US and the UK. That's 25% of our product comes from those manufacturing facilities, and the ownership are very clear on the strategy. I'm not party to some of those conversations that go in Washington. However, I do know that obviously if you look at things like COVID, when brands were over-reliant on certain locations with sourcing, the importance of diversification of sourcing of your footwear. For example, we've entered into India recently, so ramping up of our local footwear manufacturing has been a key element to how we'll communicate with that market, and it's something that we're continuing to do globally.
Stuart, good to speak to you. Appreciate your time this morning. Stuart Henwood, Regional General Manager of New Balance for the Middle East, Africa, and also, as you just mentioned there, India. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.